Without further ado, we'll bring our
Yeah.
guest up, our esteemed guest. We can bring. Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
Hey.
hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm over here like, yeah, semiconductors for life.
That's a
I
fact.
agree.
Hello. Thank you.
I agree.
Morgan, somebody that I don't know when we crossed paths, but she's been killing it for a very long time. She actually started a company called Blavity, which amplifies voices, media, and she was early on that space, and then
Absolutely.
changed the game again with Afrotech. Uh Revolutionary idea to actually have the black community specifically voices amplified in the world of technology,
Hmm.
and works with a lot of different corporations and different things of that nature. But she's also best-selling author, um, a mother, a wife, the whole gambit. So a very accomplished entrepreneur and somebody that has done very, very big things in the world of media and
Absolutely.
events. So thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's get into it. Okay, I want to start with tech. Since I finished talking about tech. You have Afrotech, right?
Yeah.
So Afrotech is a convention, right, for people that's interested in technology, people that's in technology, right? Black people.
hmm
How do you see this landscape changing as far as artificial intelligence and all of these robotics? How is this changing in real time, and how is that impacting black people that's in technology and black people that's trying to get into technology?
Yeah, so Afrotech started 10 years ago. I started my career in Silicon Valley working at Intuit, which is, a company that it has huge monopoly on like TurboTax and so many other products, QuickBooks. And what we've seen over time is that these companies are very good at evolving, and a lot of companies fail, right? Like companies take a shot and then they completely fail because they didn't evolve quick enough.
Hmm.
The evolution and the speed in which these companies is moving is something we have never seen before. And when it comes to labor and teams and hiring, they are not able to keep up with the pace of hiring that they need to for these technical skills, because a lot of these skills take 10, 15 years to really learn. So there's this huge gap. And the reason Afrotech's been so successful and why people continue to need to get into technology is because there is a large gap in the labor market. I mean, it's one of the reasons we're in this trade wars now, really. And I think for Afrotech, we have about 300 clients. These are corporate tech companies, everyone from your Intel to Lockheed Martin to NVIDIA to boring B2B companies that are billion-dollar companies you never heard of, like F5, run by a black man, $15 billion plus revenue. Like, it's amazing the impact these companies can have. What's happening is that with AI, they're all trying to figure out what is the disruption in the industry that's going to happen.
Hmm.
And I think that a lot of times people are getting AI wrong. Like people are like, AI is going to take my job. It's like AI is going to take your industry. Like, so it's not like, oh, it's me against the person using AI. No, the whole industry is gone. What do
Yeah.
you do when you're playing that game?
Yeah, I think you sit at an interesting seat in this as an event such as Afrotech gets to see a lot of the entrepreneurs inside the tech space in terms of innovation. We try to stress to people like we have to take part in this. We have to be part in the innovation. We have to be a part of the engineering. As you start to see businesses that are coming to the event each year, do people really, and I say people, our community specifically, do they understand the severity of what's ahead of us over the next 2 to 5 years if we don't get this right? Because I know we will get it right, but what
I
if
think
we
they're
don't?
trying. I think Afrotech reaches people who have a higher proclivity of being able to say, like, I know that there's something out there that I need to know,
Mhm.
and that's why we do events all over the country. We do happy hours all over this country. We got a happy hour tomorrow in Houston, New Orleans. We're trying to bring it to the people, not just have this huge mega thing that happens in Houston, which is in October this year. What I'm seeing is that people know that there's a gap between where they are and where they need to be, but they're not quite sure if they're willing to take the risk to fill that gap. I think it's the same that happens in other industries where people are like 40, 50 years old, and they know that these kids grew up with technology, and you kind of have to decide, am I going to try to play their game, or am I going to like lean on my leadership skills or my soft skills? That can only take you so far. And that gap is really, really small with the world of AI.
Yeah. For those who may hear a statement like you said earlier that the AI is going to take over an industry, what solutions or advice would you give to those who may be a little bit terrified that are in our community?
Oh, you got to get out. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's no different than people who were in the magazine industry and the newspaper industry, and then digital came along. Of course, you're always going to have that, like the stragglers that are going to make it. But 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, the most powerful moguls in our country were media moguls, the people who owned the distribution channels and owned the newspapers. Those were the most powerful people in the city. Now, media companies are owned by billionaires as toys, so, and they didn't get rich from the media company. They got rich from technology. So, yeah, I think you can decide to play the game, or the game is going to just keep going, and then you're going to be, stuck. So I really think it's important that our community understands what's at stake with AI. I mean, you guys talk about this all the time, so I know everybody watching this gets it. The question is, like, what actions do you take to get up to speed?
Yeah.
So what industries, I have a two-part question. What industries do you think is going to be eradicated by AI?
I mean, you guys see all these graphics, all these illustrations. It's over.
It's over.
It's over. It's really been over. I mean, that took them, what, 4 months?
Yeah.
That's a fact. Graphic design,
video editing, gone. I mean, even distribution. I mean, probably even for this show, there was a time when you guys might have had 2-3 people responsible for getting the piece of content here and then scraping it, putting it over here and putting it over here. All that stuff's about to be automated. So even project managers, coordinators, project coordinators, executive assistants, all those kind of like repetitive administrative functions, gone.
And the second part of my question is, okay, what industries do you see as like, this is to get into? Like, could we talk about cybersecurity? That's something that's big, right? That's only going to get bigger. Like, where's the opportunities?
Yeah, it's thinkers. It's people who can do critical thinking. And, I think there was a time when we would pay a lot of money for critical thinkers, right? Like, you're a CEO, a CRO, you're at the top of the food chain. You're paid a lot of money because you have all this expertise and all this domain expertise and all this knowledge. So you're supposed to be paid the highest. That actually, with AI, goes down because now AI has all this historical knowledge the same way that somebody who was, the leader of a company for 5, 10, 15 years. So knowledge becomes a commodity in a different way, which means that everybody should have access to be a strategic and critical thinker. So what happens when you start to get the everyday person able to process huge amounts of information and make really smart decisions when before they didn't even have access to that information? I think more people become solopreneurs and more people are trading and bartering. I think that more people will be self-employed for sure. Even things like fractional CFOs or fractional, roles, those things, like all those people who used to be employed to be a legal, in-house legal. In-house legal?
Or CMOs.
Or CMOs. You need
they're in trouble.
Gone. Okay. You need somebody who knows how to work the specific AI product or tool that has that domain expertise built into it to ask that person effective questions and have that AI agent ask effective questions and then give that information back to you.
Morgan, I appreciate your brutal honesty. And
I love the candor.
You're
I love it.
She's doomsday.
I'm like,
I'm not.
You fit it right in with this audience, right? Like, it's over. Like, we're not playing no games with these people. As you're saying it, I'm wondering, as AI is developing and really coming to the forefront over the last 2 to 3 years, how has it changed your business, right? Because you're in media, right? Like, it feels like you're like saying these things off the head, like, yo, I did that. How much of an impact has it had on you?
Oh, so much. I mean, we talk about it every day. My employees are probably sick of me because we run a training every Thursday, an AI training that anybody at the company can join, where we go through the tools. I get reports every week on who's using AI at the company, who's our highest users. I'm on it. So, to me, I'm like, whether you stay at Blavity forever or you don't, it's my responsibility to, especially as a company that employs mostly Black and brown people, like it's my responsibility to make sure you have the tools to decide to participate or not. I'll give you an example. We used to have probably 100+ writers. We own 5 brands across different industries: travel with Travel Noir, Shadow and Act with entertainment, Afrotech, which is 10x size of traffic than Black enterprise in terms of business news and education. So we had a lot of experts, and it would take people a week to write 5-10 articles. People are not able to get to 5-10 articles in a day because we built an AI tool built on our thousands of libraries of archives with the voice of our brands. Each library has its own voice. And we built a tool on top of that using ChatGPT's API to then allow you to input your information, input all the research you did, put it into the system, and then it pops out an article that's already SEO optimized, keyword optimized, and everything. And the output is like 40% better than if a human wrote it without it being AI supplemented, and faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's our voice. I think that's important.
Yeah.
In your business, what are like the top 3 or top 5 AI tools or LLMs that you're using in your business?
So we're a Google Suite company, so we use Gemini. I think on a day-to-day, I'm trying to get my team to get more advanced with their prompting. They're using it at a very basic level. So right now, they use it in their email where it'll make suggestions for your emails. They'll use it for summaries of meetings. We use Google Hangouts, so Gemini can be in there for notes. I mean, I used to have an EA that just sat in meetings to do notes. We don't need that role. It's gone. Right? Like that's gone. So note taking for everybody. What's interesting is that it's actually really helping with truth. There's no he said, she said anymore. Like what happened in that meeting? No, he said, you can't say Susie said this and DEBAUN said this because it was written in every meeting. Right. So the accountability level is also much higher. We use ChatGPT, the enterprise version, because we have a lot of private information, so everybody has access to that. And then we use Salesforce. So Salesforce owns Slack. Slack is our digital headquarters. So all of our Salesforce and Slack is integrated. And then we use Asana, which has really good AI tools on top. And then Canva. I mean, Canva just changed the game with their drop last week.
Amazing.
So I'm very excited about that.
So, okay, let's talk about this. The rollback of DEI, the rollback of corporate involvement with Black organizations. You are in the crossfires of that because you work with a lot of corporations and you have a Black event, right?
Yeah.
Has that impacted you? What's your thoughts on this? Because a lot of times people just hear this, but it doesn't really matter if it doesn't impact you personally.
Yeah.
So you, as somebody that's operating at a high level and have a lot of corporate relationships, what's your thoughts on everything that's been happening?
Yeah, our business has over 40 million in revenue. Half of it is Afrotech, half of it is media. So on the media side, revenue is up. Like all these consumer advertisers are completely like capping when it comes to DEI. Like it's very much a political fodder. But when it comes to their bottom line and their top line, you have to invest in Black audiences and consumers. Like we are where growth is. Multicultural is where growth is. They already have the white consumers. So they can't put their foot off the gas and not advertise to us. Now, how they advertise, that shifts slightly. But actually, the tariffs are having a bigger impact on the media business than the DEI executive orders.
How?
Really?
How so?
Yeah, so the DEI executive order was basically saying, like, you can't have preferential treatment. So all the programs and, these big commitments of we're going to spend $100 million on Black-owned media, like they weren't honoring those anyways. So nothing really changed. Like you were already going to spend what you were going to spend with me, regardless of what you said you were going to do. So nothing changed on our end. For the tariffs require people to be more risk adverse because they're not quite sure what's going to happen. And Trump is changing his mind constantly. I mean, literally Friday afternoon. Like, dude, what are you doing? You know, so when people become unstable, they become more risk averse. They become slower. You know, they're slower with payment terms. They're slower with, are we going to release this product line? Are we not going to release this product line? Advertising is tied to campaigns and launches. So if things get held up because things are stuck in the ports or whatever, that impacts how much they're willing to spend on advertising those products and services.
That's interesting. I mean, and the other side of it, and we've seen it as well, especially in media, when there's uncertainty, when people are unsure, then they go to trusted sources for news. Have you seen an uptick, obviously, in your space during this? I don't even know, this 100 days post-election, right?
Exactly. Traffic's up. I mean, media companies do well under Trump because he's chaos. You kind of have to stay involved. Yeah. And because people know they can't trust mainstream media anymore, they're looking for alternative platforms like y'all. I mean, I'm sure your traffic on your YouTube is probably skyrocketing. I saw Roland Martin's
he's good.
numbers.
He's good for business.
He's good for business. He's not good for society, but he is good. For
There's the distinction. Thank you for drawing that line.
But I do think, I mean, even Roland Martin, I think, had like 300,000 subscribers in like 90 days. You know, these are crazy numbers, but it's because people are looking for reliable sources of people they trust that they know they're going to get the truth from.
Yeah.